Yo, what up, folks? You know what it is. It's Mr. Twice, and this is Going Solo Network, WGSN. I'm actually sending off a couple of our sharing our show today. So give me one moment, please bear with me. I know I've been missing out for a little while. So I'm glad to be back, and I appreciate your patience. How's everybody been doing lately? Doing well? I hope so. I hope so, for sure, because there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on. Uh, the world is at a totally new transformation or transition right now. So what we got to do is make sure to love on our family, love on yourself, and make sure you tell the people that you care about them, for sure. Yeah, I'm just sending off a few. I'm sending off. Excuse me. I'm sending off and making sure everyone can get to see our show today. Um, and after that, we're gonna be good money. So yeah, right now, if you're looking at my background, it looks like I'm in another place. Oh, the dean, he said he was going to hang out. Hopefully we'll see him in the chat. But I'm actually in Kansas City, Missouri. That's where all my family's from. So uh, my dog, yeah. Um, so my family's from Kansas City, Missouri. I'm out here visiting my grandparents. They're approaching their 90s, so I was like, yeah, I need to go ahead and come see them. I'm super glad to be here. And one of the most important things uh, is our relationships. We gotta have good relationships, and when you have good relationships, um, everything's that much better, man. So So again, this is a WGSN Going Solo Network. I'm your host, Mr. Twice. We missed the dean today. He's floating around here somewhere. Next time he's going to be here, and you guys gotta let him know to go ahead and come hang out with us. But today we want to talk about something that is super important: how to have a healthy relationship when you're dating outside of your race. Now, because of what's going on these days, there's a lot of controversy, a lot of issues with racism, and I wouldn't even say segregation, maybe prejudice, excuse me. And we got to let all of that go. We got to put that to the side because we're all one race, which is the human race. And love doesn't have a color. Love is about four things: respect, care, honesty, and compromise. That doesn't have no color. It doesn't have no creed. It just matters if you care about the person, if you respect them, if you're going to continue to be honest with them, and if you're going to compromise to make sure that they're happy. Because at the end of the day, that is all we need to do to make sure to be happy. We need to spread more love. We need to share more joy. We need to add more love into our life. Now, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and dive right into our interracial relationships. Now, one of the very first issues we're going to have dealing with the an interracial relationship, that's almost a tongue twister, huh? Is that we're going to have two different values. That's one thing that's going to happen. We come from two different cultures. We have two different set of beliefs. Our parents were raised differently. And so you have to take that into consideration. Just because it doesn't happen in your way doesn't mean it's not the right way. Because there's multiple ways to cook chicken, multiple ways to skin a cat, if that's the analogy you're looking for. And it doesn't mean that it's wrong by the way that you do it. at all. So when you're thinking about your values, it depends upon, you got to ask your partner what matters most. What matters most to you? And then once you figure out what matters most, you'll start to get into how they feel about things, how they're going to address situations when they don't feel comfortable or when even they do feel comfortable. So always ask your partner what matters most, what you're going to pay attention to the most. That's what we have to make sure to ask to do. Now, don't just think that because it's not valuable to you, that it's not valuable to them. You have to ask, you have to communicate that issue, or you have to communicate and have those discussions. Because if you don't, then one, you could offend your partner. And why do we ever want to offend our partner? That's not, anything we want to do. Now, if you don't find out your values in an interracial relationship, it's probably not going to be a long-term relationship. So if you're striving and seeking for a long-term relationship, you have to make sure, I'm going to say it again, you have to make sure that you continue to find out what the values are to make it a very successful relationship. Now, how do we overcome the struggle? I just told you. Number 2, way to have a very healthy relationship between interracial partners. Don't assume. I kind of mentioned it already. Don't assume. We're going to say it one more time. Don't think just because the last person didn't value it. Everyone's different. Everyone has different cultures. Everyone has different beliefs. Everyone even has different love languages. So, and if someone's love language is different from yours, or their beliefs are different from yours, or the way they feel, you have to make that known. You have to ask those questions. You have to have those types of conversations, because to have a healthy, yes, the dean said it smack dab, hit it on the head, communication. If you don't talk, that's what sets us apart from every other species on this planet, because we can communicate better than any other species. No species can communicate like us. So we have to make sure to use those communication skills to get the types of information, the feelings, and the connections that no other race can get. The human race. Remember, it's not about being black, being white, or being Asian, being Indian, anything like that. We are all one people, and we have to make sure to remember that. We all just really want the same things in life. We want to eat. We want love. We want affection. We want to be wealthy. I don't want to say wealthy. Yeah, I guess a lot of people do want it, but we want to be comfortable. And being comfortable means you have to have some type of level of comfort with the person you're with. And the only way to get comfortable is to make sure that you know who you're really with. And for you to know who you're with, you have to have that conversation. Now, yeah, Dean. Yeah. So in today's, 2020, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. Now you said even more so with the races. Yeah, absolutely. Got to communicate even more so. Even like, let's say, even if Miss Ashley, communication is key. Always making sure your partner's values are acknowledged as well as yours. That is key. Acknowledgement. My pastor ended up telling me one day. She says the first form of love is acknowledgement. So yeah, Ashley, that is amazing. You have to acknowledge your concerns, the concerns of your partner. You can't just ignore them. You can't just ignore them. And what happens is when we assume, we're kind of ignoring some of the facts, and we may be even ignoring some of the signs. And sometimes we don't even have the I don't want to say ability or capability, but sometimes we don't even want to say those kind of things that's bothering us, because it may make us feel a little bit worse, or it may make us feel a little uncomfortable. And so you have to be able to make your partner comfortable with talking to you. So you don't want to have to say dolphins communicate better than us. Uh, oh, okay. They may have you think dolphins communicate better than us? I don't know, man. We have dolphins may only have one language, and I believe we have dozens, almost 100 languages. So those are different methods of communications. Um, you know, just on that one alone, and we might it's going to be a tough toss up, because I don't know if dolphins have 3 different languages besides body language, their sonar and their sound. Like we have several too. We got several too, Dean. So we might have to go back and forth about that. So number 2. Oh, okay. Ashley said, acknowledge your partner's feelings. That's key. A lot of relationships fail when you fail to acknowledge how the other person feels. Nail on the head, Ashley. Nail on the head. We gotta make sure to communicate and acknowledge that a communication. They use pathology. Okay. See, that's why the dean got to be on, because he be adding new perspectives for me and making sure that I stay right and stay tight. Number 3, which is a hot topic right now. Many couples shy away from the topic of racism, and racism is a real thing, unfortunately. And the thing about racism, it's taught. You have to learn that. You have to learn to have that type of hate. Like you aren't born with hate. It takes 12 muscles to smile, 44 to frown. So by virtue, the reason why that is like that is because we want it to be easier to show love. But right now it's easier to hate because it's taught. It's taught to think that we're better than everybody. There's a quote that I really love, and I really wish everyone would live up to this and really hold this right on their forehead, forefront of their mind. If we all want equality, if we want peace, we have to look at everybody as equals. I'm going to say that again. If we want peace, everybody must be equals. So that's what we have to do. We got to see everyone, all our peers, as equals. We're not better or lesser than anybody. We are, again, one race. One race. There's so much bad going on because we're thinking we're so much different, this, that, and the third. But when you put us in the dirt, at the end of the day, we all look the same. Now, the reason why, like I said, the reason why racism exists in the world is because, number 1, people don't talk about it. 2, it's taught at an early age. And also, some people think that just because they haven't seen it doesn't mean it's happened. There's systematic racism. There is financial racism. There's the judicial racism. There's so many different types of racism that has not been seen. And if you don't really know about it, and if someone speaks about it to you, then you may not be able to connect or understand. And then that could put a road bump, and then you have to slow down and really get there. And the reason why a lot of people don't like to talk about it is because it is a sensitive subject. And if you don't know how to acknowledge and actually have a healthy conversation, a conversation to where that you're going to talk about a couple of differences, talk about some things that you've seen, 1, without getting angry, 2, without being judgmental, and 3, by having an open mind or a listening ear to try to put yourself in the other person's shoes, you are not going to understand, and it could cause some turmoil in your relationship. So with that being said, interracial relationships, We have to do that. Like the Asians have a different struggle. Indians have a different struggle. Whites have a different struggle. Blacks have a different struggle. And it shouldn't be that way, but that's what it is. We all have different struggles. Mexican, Hispanics, Latins, they have their own struggle. Even it's incredible. Everyone has their own different struggle, but we need to understand that if we work together and we have that open line of communication and we really get to talk about our feelings, you'll know that your partner, number one, understands, and two, is going to be there for you. And me personally, when I'm out, you should be able to know if I feel some type of level of uncomfort. And that's why we should be able to have those conversations, because you know when somebody's looking at you, and yeah, most definitely. So, and you know when somebody's looking at you and you kind of get, a bad vibe from her, or they feel like a little bit of hatred or some type of sinister look or something like that. And somebody else may just think, oh, he just had something in his eye. No, like you have to take into consideration what they're saying. And that was taught right there. So don't ignore it. Don't brush it off. You have to make sure to acknowledge the remarks and have a little bit of awareness what's going on, and make sure to communicate the problem. You have to communicate how you feel, because once we communicate and we kind of let everybody and everyone understands that we need, yes, all about working together. Yes, for sure. Now, once we get past that and we start seeing each other for who we are, opposed to what we look like, we're going to be so much better in life. I promise. Then the next step. Oh, by the way, so what we're going to do, remember, this is WGSN Going Solo Network. We're going to take a brief break. We're gonna let our sponsors talk to us for a little bit, because they make sure to take care of us. Yo, we right back in. What's up, man? This is Mr. Twice and this Going Solo Network, WGSN. I got my fam right here. I'm out here in Kansas City right now. They came downstairs to come talk to me. Today, if you guys are just tuning in, we're talking about healthy interracial relationships. And we just talked about a couple ways how to make sure that you have a healthy interracial relationship. Number one, what you want to do is, remember, everyone has different values. Number two, you want to have you don't want to assume. Sorry about that. You don't want to make sure, you don't want to assume. Number three, you want to have those difficult conversations, maybe about their feelings, their racism. You want to have what they see, their like I said, their values. Have those difficult conversations. The next thing on this list are your boundaries. Boundaries are so important in a relationship, any relationship, even if it's a friendship. Boundaries are undeniably important. So I was reading this book, and then we were talking about boundaries in any relationship, let alone an interracial relationship, when the values are different. If your values are different, your boundaries have to be different just by virtue, because your values are different. So what boundaries are made for? Boundaries are made to protect you. Now, I'm going to say this again. Boundaries are meant to protect you. You set boundaries to protect yourself, because if you don't set boundaries, number one, you're going to feel some type of way. Two, most definitely, I will go into that for sure. We will most definitely go into how to set boundaries. I have a tough time as well, because Dean, I'm a people pleaser. I like to please people. I like to make the light of the situation, and I try to set. I take the way I feel at an expense. So I will make sure someone else feels better before me. And that's not healthy. And we need to set healthy boundaries. Because, like, let's say if I don't set a good boundary and this thing keeps happening over and over and over that I know I don't like, I could blow up on this person and they don't even know that it's a boundary of mine or that they are making me upset. So because I didn't set that boundary, one, I hurt myself. Two, I hurt myself for a while because it happened continuously over and over again. And then I blew up on this on my partner, my friend, my relationship, and they didn't even know that I was feeling some type of way about that. So don't feel bad about setting boundaries. As soon as it happens, you nip it in the butt. That's how. So let's say something even simple. I'm gonna just go simple. Gentlemen, let's say you didn't open the door for your lady, or let's say you walk on the other side of the street. Some type of gentleman stuff. If we don't address that in the beginning of the relationship, we will continue to believe that that's okay. And then once we act like it isn't okay, then there is a disconnect. We're confused what's going on. And then the link and the bond that we had once before separates. It separates, gets further and further again. And until we have that open line of communication and really talk, we will never have that level of the relationship that we are actually intending to get. So we have to make sure to always, always, always set boundaries. Tell your partner what you're comfortable with. Tell them what you're not comfortable with. Tell them this gets under my skin a little bit, or don't use these words. You have to have that open line of communication. And even I'll even tell you, I was raised to never be called a punk. I'd rather be called, a B before I get called a punk. I'd rather my girl call me a B before I get called a punk. So when you call me a punk, that means I'm not a man. I'm not stepping up to my responsibilities. I'm running away from situations. I'm not masculine, and I'm a man with a lot of feminine qualities. That is a punk, and I would rather be called a B than a punk. But you wouldn't know that, and you wouldn't know that makes me angry unless I told you that. So that's a boundary of mine that I always make sure to nip in the butt. So if you don't like something, don't just swallow your pride. Don't just let it go. You have to, calmly speak about it, address yourself. So I really didn't like that. And especially if you care about that person, you just have to let them know. This isn't how I don't feel comfortable with those words that you're using, the situation we're in. And once you set those boundaries, you're setting the boundaries so that we can all always have a good time. That's what boundaries are for. It's at a skating rink. They got all the ring has the blockade or the barriers around so that you can skate in. So everyone has a good time. But when you go outside that skating ring, you don't go as fast. You're slowing up. You might get in people's way. You might run over somebody. Now, it really slows everything down. So we set boundaries to protect ourselves and to protect others from ourselves. So make sure to set healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries in any relationship, even more so in an interracial relationship, because remember, our values are so much different. Now, the next thing that you want to do is it says some interracial couples allow others' opinion to affect their well-being. Now, I don't know how many people do so, yet this happens a lot. How many relationships have started from social media? How many relationships have ended because of social media? Right. Because the opinions of others, the words of others start affecting your relationships. So some people may even like to have an exclusive relationship, and not just an exclusive, but a private relationship, to where that nobody knows the ins and outs or the depths of their intimacy or anything like that. And I believe intimacy doesn't need to be anybody else's business, and it's not anybody else's business. And if it is anybody else's business, then it's not intimacy. Because the artist, her last album, it's amazing. Go check it out. She was talking after one of her tracks, and I'm so mad I don't even have that track at the top of my head right now, or at the tip of my tongue. She says, intimacy is the isolation of two minds. That's deep. Now, if you're bringing in other minds into your intimate relationship, then does it become intimate? Or is it still intimate? I'm not sure, because your two minds aren't the only ones that are in the situation anymore. So we cannot bring others into our relationship, especially if you think you're going to have a healthy one. And if you are a public figure, for sure. Oh, the dean, social media kills relationship firsthand. Yes, I've had several of those too, for sure, for sure. My dog. Hey, Matt, what's happening, baby? So this is what we got to do. We got to have to make sure that we don't let the opinions of others affect the way we feel about our partner. Because one, you're letting somebody else think for you. Ashley says, what if you have a relationship with no intimacy? Then can you have a relationship without intimacy? And how valuable is that relationship without intimacy? Because all of my relationships I've ever been in, if I haven't, and I'm talking about friendships, I'm talking about brother, sister, family relationships, girlfriends, aunties, anybody, we've all had a sit down one-on-one with somebody where it was just us and we didn't take anybody else's consideration into effect. So if we don't have those one-on-one types of situations or conversations with somebody, I don't even believe that we can have a relationship with somebody that we've never just sat down with by ourselves or talked to by ourselves. So we have to make sure with that level of intimacy. And when I say intimacy, I don't mean sex. I don't mean it doesn't mean love. Intimacy is the isolation of two minds. So it's just me and it's you. You telling me how you feel. I'm telling you how I feel. And we're coming to an agreement and we're having a nice conversation. That is intimacy at its finest. And so we got to make sure that we don't let anybody else dictate how we feel about somebody. If somebody's making you feel amazing, but the next person doesn't like their physical features, or I almost cursed. I said, them, straight up, get them out of here. Because if you're happy and somebody else says something about your partner, let that person go. Because obviously they don't value your happiness. And if your happiness was at the forefront of their mind, they wouldn't care about none of that other stuff they're talking about. So don't worry about what other people say. Don't worry about, oh, this person doesn't look like who the person you're supposed to be with or something like that. Or this person isn't a doctor. Or this person isn't this person isn't on your level, or this person doesn't make enough money, or this person won't be able to provide for you, and this, that, and the third. This is going to be outside of our values, and we're normally not like that. No, don't let those kind of things get into your relationship, because what's going to happen is you're going to start to either resent your relationship or resent your friendship. And then even if it's not your friendship, is there somebody on social media, then they're just probably miserable too. And they just want to bring their misery to someone else. Because we all know misery loves company. I actually had a relationship where this girl told me, she said, yeah, I kind of did sabotage all of your ventures because I gave her the power because I cared about her. I gave her the power to either make my situation better or make my situation worse. And she told me she made it worse because she didn't want me to get better and realize that I was, her words, too good for her and find somebody else. This is really what happened. She found and she didn't find somebody else. I had to let her go because if you really care about somebody, you're not going to sabotage their success for your insecurities. And that's just what it is. So don't let somebody else's opinion affect the well-being of your relationship because we got to have that intimacy. Those two minds got to be isolated. And that's when you get to know somebody. Now this, we're not gonna be too long. I just really wanted to make sure that we really had a amazing talk or a informational talk about relationships, interracial relationships. Now, this doesn't even have to be a boyfriend and a girlfriend. This could be two homies. This could be two girlfriends. You know, this could be a platonic friendship, but it's still a relationship that is interracial, and these still apply. So you still have to find out their values. You still don't want to have to let anybody else in and dictate how you feel about somebody else. Don't let somebody dictate how you feel about somebody else, especially if they care for you. Especially if they care for you. Especially if they love you. Because love is going to conquer everything. Love conquers all. Respect, care, honesty, compromise. That's what we need in this world right now. We need more love, less hatred. And if you're one of those people that have that hatred in your heart, let it go. Let it go. It's not going to do nothing for you. Only thing hatred is really going to do is breed more hatred. And once more hatred, that's like more darkness. Once everything's dark, how are we ever going to see it? Now, the last point I wanted to make for our interracial dating, having a healthy relationship. So some individuals dating people from another race feel superior in the relationship. Now, I kind of said this for you. Yes, Nina, peace is letting it go. And I'm glad you used that word peace because I'm going to go ahead and say my peace of mind and repeat it again or give you my peace of mind that requires some peaceful thoughts again. Now, if everyone is viewed as equals, or if you really want peace in the world, and that's what we need the most, we need peace because we cannot progress without peace. What we need, if we want peace, we have to view everyone as equals. Women, you have to view your man as equals. Men, view your woman as equals. View your friends as equals. That has to be done. We are no better than anybody. We all make mistakes. We all are wrong. We all aren't right all the time. There's just no way that can happen. You have to do that. You have to make sure that you are striving for peace. What am I doing? What am I doing in this argument? Am I trying to make sure that they feel the way I feel? No. That's not a quality of leadership. That's not a quality of confidence. And that's not a quality of peace. What we're doing is we want peace, we want happiness, we want prosperity. That's why those things run in concordance with one another, one after another. Once you have peace, boom, then prosperity starts coming. Boom, happiness becomes. That is the timeline of how things have to happen. So if you already believe that you are better than others, you are putting that timeline on halt. And it's going to come and bite you in your ass. For sure. And my mother always told me this anyway. There's always somebody out there better than you. Always. But I would say everyone's equal. Everyone has, you never know what someone's going through. You want to be good to people. You want to be good to people. Because when you're good to people, people are good to you. It really comes back. Karma's a real thing. What you do always comes back around. Always comes back around. So if you're an individual who's dating someone from a different race, and for some reason you don't like the race, it's more what you have to do. And who knows why you don't like the race. Find good qualities in a person. How do they make you feel? Take that race out of the picture. Why don't you like it? Okay, let's throw that away. Because whatever the reason why, absolutely. Whatever the reason why you don't like them, it's probably because it's probably a misunderstanding. After the misunderstanding, it may even had somebody else. So the person may not have nothing to do with what's going on, but you're resenting this person because of someone else. And that's one of the worst things that we can do, is not like somebody for what somebody else did or what somebody else said. And that person has no idea of what's going on. So what we really need to do is to make sure that, one, we don't assume. We communicate our values. We want to have those tough conversations. If we're talking about the racisms, if we're talking about why we don't like certain things, make sure to talk about those boundaries. Boundaries are going to make for a healthy relationship. When you have that healthy relationship, guess what's going to happen? We're going to start to have more fun. We're going to start to have better times. Time is going to start to run faster. You're going to feel like where the time go. You're just going to have so many beautiful situations and beautiful memories that we're going to have when we set those boundaries, when we have those good conversations. That's what makes a healthy relationship. Communication is the key. And Dean, I believe the human race has the best communication skills. We're going to have a debate about that. And I'm going to put on my communication hat. And by the way, I'm not mad at you, because dolphins are my favorite animal. So yeah, I wouldn't be mad. Yet I would like to argue with you about that. Also, make sure that you view everyone as equals. We are all equal. We all come from the same place. We all have the same home, Earth. Yes, we all are one person, one people, one race. So again, I'm Mr. Twice. I appreciate you guys for listening today. It wasn't too many laughs, but it was all about making sure that we know that we're one people. That's what today was about. That's what I really wanted to get through. We are one people. Love on your people. That's me. You can love on me too. That's cool. I like it. Love on your family, your friends. Let them know you care about them. Remember, peace is the number one luxury in life. We don't want to stress. We don't want to add more stress to life, because life doesn't wait. There's always a new curve or a new turn that always adds something else in the life. We have to make sure that we take it together, for sure. And Dean, I appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody that tuned in. CC, you're amazing. This is WGSN Going Solo Network. I'm Mr. Twice. This is Thinking Twice. Hey, make sure to keep thinking twice to think right. And peace be with you. Love.